You grew up learning that price tags did the talking for you. The right pair of sneakers, the right logo stitched onto the right backpack. By the time you started earning actual money, you were still stuck playing that same game. Still trusting how things looked over what they were actually worth.
I'm ready for the upgrade.
Still spending like appearances were the whole point.
This watch will be mine.
You bought the things people could see. You financed the things people could see. Somewhere along the way, $6,715 quietly settled onto a credit card. Ordinary, unremarkable, sitting exactly where the average American's balance sits this year. Nobody tells you the entire rulebook is broken until you're parked in a lot off Route 9, engine off, staring down a $133,000 vehicle you don't even need. The debt hiding behind the logo. It's Monday morning, and the break room smells like scorched coffee and that vanilla candle nobody remembers buying. Your coworker Casey Whitfield drops her bag on the counter like she's setting down a trophy. A Louis Vuitton Neverfull, the monogram loud enough to read from across the room. She picked it up on a Vegas trip, split into 4 payments through an app that made spending feel weightless. You have to treat yourself sometimes, she says, though she's not really saying it to you, she's saying it to the room, to whoever happens to be watching. You nod, pour your coffee, and think about the number sitting on your own card, $6,715. It follows you into rooms exactly like this one. Quiet, uninvited, never spoken aloud because nobody ever speaks it aloud. You make solid money. That's the part people never quite grasp. Solid money paired with a balance that refuses to shrink because the interest devours whatever you throw at it. Somewhere around 21.5%, though you've never actually sat down long enough to read the fine print. You just feel it, the way you feel a headache coming on before you'd actually call it one. Casey spends 10 minutes talking about the bag, how it makes her feel walking into client meetings, how everyone clocks it the second she walks in. You find yourself thinking about the Range Rover again, the one sitting on Route 9, and it hits you suddenly what you and Casey actually have in common. You both want the exact same thing. You just haven't figured out yet that wanting to be noticed and actually having money are 2 completely different games. And most people spend their whole lives playing the first one while convinced it's the second. That afternoon at your desk, you do the thing you sometimes do, opening the banking app just to look at it. Not to fix anything, just to look, the way you'd press on a bruise to check if it still hurts. $6,715 happens to be close to the national average right now, which should make you feel better and somehow doesn't. Knowing everyone else is drowning a little too doesn't make the water any shallower. You start doing the math on what $15,000 down on that Range Rover would actually cost over 5 years, then stop yourself before finishing it. You already know the shape of the answer, the same way you know a stove is hot without needing to touch it. $133,445 financed at whatever rate they'd offer someone with your card balance and your unpredictable overtime. The salesman would smile and talk about the monthly payment, never the sticker price. Payments feel like nothing. Prices feel like everything. That's the entire trick, and you nearly fell for it standing in that dealership lot for the 3rd time that month. Engine off, hands still gripping the wheel like you were seconds from walking in and signing something. You didn't. You drove home instead, ate dinner standing at the counter because sitting down felt like admitting the day deserved more weight than you wanted to give it. Casey posts a photo of the bag that same night. 41 likes by the time you check your phone before bed. You almost leave a nice comment. You don't. You just lie there thinking about the difference between something loud and something that's simply true, realizing that for most of your life you'd assumed those were the same thing. Weeks later, at a work dinner you nearly skipped, you notice a woman across the table carrying something that doesn't announce itself at all. No monogram, no visible name anywhere. Just leather knotted at the handle, sitting there as if it isn't trying to prove a single thing to anyone. You don't know yet exactly what you're looking at, but something in you already senses it isn't nothing. Paying to disappear. Your tax refund lands on a Tuesday. $2,100 sitting in your account like it's daring you to do something responsible with it. You don't. Instead, you drive to the outlet mall off the interstate, the one with the fountain that's never once worked, and walk into the Coach store like you're stepping into a different version of your own life. The tabby shoulder bag runs $450, quilted leather, a gold chain strap, the C's stamped across the front, loud enough that a stranger 3 aisles away could name the brand without even trying. You hand over your card without checking the balance first. For once, you'd rather not know. You wear it that weekend to your friend Renata Kowalski's engagement party, out on her fiancé's parents' back deck in Cherry Hill. String lights everywhere, a cooler stocked with White Claw, someone's dog running laps around the folding tables. You catch your reflection in the sliding glass door and like what you see. The bag sits on your shoulder like proof of something, though you're not sure yet proof of what, only that it feels like arriving somewhere. Renata's cousin, Dana Piotrowski, is there too. Quiet, early 30s, working in something involving numbers you don't fully follow. Structured credit, or fixed income, or some phrase people rattle off fast enough that you won't ask a follow-up. Dana's in jeans and a linen shirt, carrying something small and woven that doesn't register as anything special at all. Brown leather, a knotted handle, no hardware, no stamp, nothing announcing itself. You'd have guessed $40 off a rack somewhere you couldn't even name. Later, refilling your drink, you end up beside her near the cooler. "Cute bag," Dana says, nodding at your tabby, meaning it kindly, which somehow makes it worse. "Thanks, yours is nice too," you say, mostly out of politeness. She glances down at hers like she forgot she was even holding it. "Oh, thanks," she says, Bottega. You nod like you understand exactly what that means. You don't, not really, not yet. You just feel the air shift slightly, the way a room's temperature changes when someone opens a door you hadn't noticed was closed. Later in the bathroom, phone angled away from the mirror, you look it up. Bottega Veneta, the Jody, classic size intrecciato weave. $4,900, nearly 11 times what's currently hanging off your own shoulder. You stare at the number for a long moment, waiting for it to reveal itself as a mistake. It doesn't. Dana's standing 40 feet away in flip-flops, holding something worth more than a full year of your car payment. And not one person at this party noticed before you did. That's the part that stays with you on the drive home. Windows down, the tabby sitting on the passenger seat like it's suddenly become a stranger to you. You spent $450 to be seen. Dana spent 11 times that not to be seen, at least not by anyone who didn't already know exactly what they were looking at. You'd always assumed those were the same impulse wearing different outfits. Standing in that bathroom with the phone light on your face, you realize for the first time they might be opposites entirely. You don't return the Coach bag, you still carry it sometimes. But something feels different now when you clip the strap onto your shoulder. Some awareness that wasn't there before the party, sitting quietly underneath your thoughts the way a splinter sits under skin you've stopped noticing until you press on it. Money starts moving differently in your life after that. Not loudly, not immediately. Just a small redirection, the kind nobody throws you a parade for. The kind that only shows up months later as a number you almost don't recognize as your own. Compounding in silence. October arrives, open enrollment season, and you're sitting at your kitchen table at 9 at night, clicking through the benefits portal your company only opens once a year. Tucked into a drop-down menu, past dental and vision, sit your 401k elections. This year, the IRS raised the limit to $24,500, and you hover the cursor there, deciding whether to push your contribution up another percentage point. Nobody's watching, nobody's clapping. You bump it up anyway and open a Roth IRA that same night. $7,500 a year now, funded with what's left of a bonus you could easily have spent on something more photogenic. You tell no one. There's nothing to post. A transfer confirmation screen isn't a story anyone wants at brunch. Your college roommate Whitley Dobbs texts that weekend, still living the version of life you used to live alongside her. Brunch photos, a lease upgrade, a countdown to some trip to Tulum. You used to talk daily. Now it's every few weeks, and every time you do, there's a small gap that wasn't there before. A beat where you don't say what you're actually thinking, which is that you're not spending the way you used to, and you don't know how to explain that without it sounding like judgment. It isn't judgment. It's just distance, the kind that grows quietly when two people stop moving in the same direction. That November, you visit your Uncle Desmond Marsh, the one who fixed HVAC systems for 31 years before retiring early. The one nobody in the family ever called rich because he drives a 10-year-old F-150 and wears the same brown jacket to every holiday gathering. You're sitting at his kitchen table in Allentown when his sleeve rides up while he's pouring coffee and you catch a flash of something on his wrist. A steel case, a blue dial with a horizontal grain like the ocean viewed from above. No name visible anywhere on the face. "That's a nice watch," you say, mostly out of politeness. He glances down at it like he'd forgotten it was there. "Nautilus," he says. "Patek," as if it's nothing, the same way he might mention the brand of his coffee maker. You don't fully understand what that means yet. You look it up later that night in his guest bedroom, phone brightness turned down so it won't wake anyone. Patek Philippe Nautilus, white gold, blue dial, retail price just under $90,000. And even if you could get one, the wait list alone stretches for years, longer than most marriages last. Your Uncle Desmond, who still buys his shirts at Kohl's and clips coupons out of habit even though he no longer needs to, is wearing something on his wrist worth more than your car and half your furniture combined. And not a single person at that Thanksgiving table noticed. Not your cousins, not your mother, not even you, until his sleeve happened to shift at the right moment. You lie there with the phone light still glowing on your face, thinking about Whitley's unanswered texts on your lock screen. Thinking about the $24,500 you just committed to a retirement account nobody will ever see, thinking about your uncle at that table saying almost nothing about the thing on his wrist because there was nothing that needed saying. He wasn't hiding it. He wasn't performing it either. Those turn out to be two very different things, and you're only now learning how to tell them apart. Something in you settles that night, quiet and a little sad at the same time. Pride, but the kind nobody applauds. Distance from Whitley, but the kind that isn't anyone's fault. You fall asleep still holding the phone, the number 24,500, sitting somewhere in the back of your mind like a small stone dropped into water. The rings still spreading long after the splash disappears. Driving home the next morning, you keep glancing down at your own bare wrist, wondering what it might mean to wear something that quiet someday. Not for anyone else to notice, just so you'd know it was there. Wealth measured in two currencies. Saturday morning finds you at the Wegmans off Route 1 in sweatpants, hair unbrushed, pushing a cart with a wobbly wheel that pulls left no matter how you steer it. You're comparing egg cartons like an 18-cent difference actually matters. And in a way it does, not because you can't afford it, but because you built this whole life on knowing the difference. Your shoes are 3 years old. Nobody here knows what's sitting in your accounts. Nobody here needs to. Your phone buzzes. It's Holt Ferraro, a guy from your old job doing well now in private equity, the kind of well where his texts always sound like invitations to be impressed. He's hosting something tonight, a rooftop thing in the city, low-key, he says, though you already know what low-key means among his crowd. You tell him you'll come, and you mean it. Some part of you wants to see it firsthand. Back home, you stand in front of your closet longer than you'd admit to anyone, not so much deciding what to wear as deciding who to be for the next 4 hours. You pull out the black cap-toe shoes you bought last spring. Plain leather, no visible stitching detail, nothing about them that says a single thing until you turn them over. And there it is, a flash of red on the sole, the only part of the shoe ever built to be seen, and only by someone already primed to notice it. Christian Louboutin. You remember the receipt more vividly than the shoes themselves, the number that made you sit in the car afterward, just breathing for a second. Up on the rooftop, Holt's telling a story with his hands, drink sweating in the July heat, and a woman near the bar catches sight of your shoe as you shift your weight. Just a half-second glance down and back up, and something passes between you two that nobody else at the party would have caught. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't need to. You feel recognized in a way that has nothing to do with your face. Holt, meanwhile, is loud about everything, the car parked downstairs, a Range Rover Sport autobiography in Carpathian gray, the exact one you priced out at that dealership on Route 9 2 years back and quietly walked away from. He talks about a friend's plane, some private charter arrangement, a Gulfstream G650ER, $70 million new, tossed out like a fact about the weather. People nod. People are supposed to nod. That's the entire function of the sentence. You stand there holding a drink you're barely touching, running the math you can't seem to stop running anymore. The shoes on your feet cost less than people assume and mean more than anyone here could possibly guess. The version of you Holt sees, the sweatpants and Wegmans version, simply doesn't exist for him. He only gets the rooftop version, calibrated, curated, a costume built from one honest detail and nothing else. That's the part that weighs on you during the drive home. Windows cracked, city lights thinning into strip malls, and then nothing at all. You're tired in a way that has nothing to do with the hour. Being two different people takes something out of you that being one person never did. The stripped-down Saturday self and the polished rooftop self, both real, both exhausting to hold at once. And nobody warned you this was the actual price of learning the difference between looking wealthy and staying quiet about it. Money never bought you out of performing. It just swapped which performance you were doing and for whom. You pull into your driveway a little past midnight, the porch light out again, something you keep meaning to fix. You sit in the car a minute before heading inside, shoes still on, soul still turned toward the seat, the red catching the dome light for just a second before you swing your legs out and stand in the dark. Alone, nobody around to notice anything at all. You think, not for the first time, about the people who never have to choose which version of themselves to bring anywhere and wonder what it would actually take to become one of them. The house that isn't the answer. You're in Miami for a cousin's wedding, the kind of trip where you tack on 2 extra days just to feel like you did something for yourself. Your cousin's fiance's brother, a guy named Foster Ainsley who works in yacht brokerage and talks about it the way other people talk about the weather, offers to take you and a few of the wedding party out on a boat tour past the islands. Nobody turns down a free boat ride. The tour guide has his patter memorized, half history, half real estate gossip, pointing out Fisher Island, then Palm Island, slowing the boat near the causeway leading toward Star Island. Somewhere around 30 lots total, homes running 17 million at the low end, climbing past 40. He points out one place, white and modern, glass on every side, sitting on the water like it's daring the bay to touch it. 40 million, he says, still on the market, been sitting a while. Someone on the boat whistles low. Someone else snaps a photo they'll never look at again. You watch the house pass by and think about Route 9, the dealership, the Range Rover you nearly financed years back when $133,000 felt like the absolute ceiling of what money could mean. Now you're looking at a number nearly 300 times that, sitting behind a gate, mostly empty, owned by someone probably not even in Florida this week. Foster keeps talking the whole ride, easy and loud the way people get when they're comfortable, naming which house belongs to which hedge fund guy, which one changed hands last year, which dock could fit a boat twice the size of the one you're standing on. At some point you realize you've stopped listening to the actual facts and started listening to the tone underneath them. It's the same tone Holt had up on that rooftop, the same performance, just with better props. Then Foster mentions something almost as an aside, nodding toward a modest 2-story place near the far end of the island. Nothing special from the water, no glass walls, no obvious flex. That one belongs to some guy running a family office out of Coral Gables. Nobody on this boat's ever heard of him. Worth more than half the flashy houses combined. He says it and moves right on to the next one, as if it wasn't the single most important sentence of the whole tour. You sit with that for the rest of the ride. The boat rocks gently, salt air moving through your hair, and you think about your Uncle Desmond's blue-dialed watch, about Dana's bag with no name on it anywhere, about the $24,500 you quietly moved into an account this year that nobody clapped for and no one on this boat will ever know about. You think about how loud everyone out on this water is trying to be, the white glass house practically shouting across the bay, and how the real answer to the question this whole trip keeps circling back to, who actually has it, turned out to be that quiet 2-story place nobody bothered to even photograph. The boat turns back toward the marina as the sun starts sinking behind the skyline, orange catching every window in the city at once. And you think about how far you've come from the person who used to slow the car down on Route 9 just to look. You're not fully there yet. You still check your balance some nights out of old habit, one that doesn't fully leave a person. But something in you has changed how it measures things. You don't want the glass house anymore. You want to be the name nobody on that boat has ever heard of. The dock comes into view, Foster's still talking, and somebody's phone is still out snapping photos of houses that will mean nothing to them a year from now. You glance one last time at the water behind you, the island fading into the haze, and you understand quietly, the way you understand things that finally settle rather than just occur to you, that the truest kind of wealth was never the kind anyone could point at from a boat. Wealth without an audience. You drive home from the airport past Route 9 and the dealership glass doesn't do a thing to your chest anymore. It's just glass now. Somewhere behind you, a card balance still exists. Smaller than it used to be, quieter than it used to be, the way most true things eventually go quiet if you let them. You think about Desmond's watch, Dana's bag, the house on Star Island. Nobody bothered to photograph. None of it was ever really about the object. It was always about who needed the room to notice. Tuesday rolls around and you transfer what you always transfer. Nobody claps. You don't need them to. Tomorrow you'll walk past someone wearing something you can't quite place, something plain, something that isn't trying to tell you a single thing. What will you assume about them? And what might you be getting wrong?